When you know you've maxed out XP in pad holding is when your body pad is starting to break apart from padding that many liver shots. And if you look at the liver shots of his fighters, Takumi Terada, Yuki Yoza, Masaki Noiri, Takeru, it's not surprising. I'm George Hardwick, pro mixed martial arts, 13-3 record, a degree in applied sports science, and coach for about 10 years. And I'm going to be breaking down this man. Not necessarily just the pad hitters, but the pad man, Masakazu Watanabe, possibly the best padman in the world. And first, I want to talk about, before talking about his pad technique or the strikes that his students are throwing, I want to talk about the pad setup, because the pad setup's very important. So look here, we have got, if we look at this man here, he has got 2 Thai pads, very regular, a chest pad, I'll talk about why I prefer that to the Thai style body pad, 2 big leg pads for thigh kicks, and 2 incredibly padded shins, incredibly padded calves for calf kicks on both legs. Now, first, let's talk about the chest pad. Why I prefer a big chest pad like this, generally, to the Thai body pad. Now, the Thai body pad is just like a little thing sits on the abs, but I don't feel like you want to train yourself to hit the abs. You want to train yourself to hit the floating ribs. That's what does the most damage. With your toe kicks and with your body shots, the floating ribs does the most damage. You don't want to train to hit the abs as well. The chest is a really good target for straight punches. If someone's moving their head a lot, you can hit the chest, and as well, it gives the padman freedom just to hit the chest whenever they want, and if they're throwing their teeps at a self-directed pace, then it's a little bit more protection. The only downside is, if you are padding this much, is that you can kind of feel the shocks in your head, especially if a knee comes up to this point. But I prefer the chest pad. There's more coverage. There's more coverage around the sides. It teaches your fighter to hit the floating ribs and not just target the abs. That's why I prefer the chest pad. Point number two. Point number 2 here. The big calf pads here. So it's like double wrapped shin pads for calf kicks. And what's really important is he hasn't just wrapped one leg, he's wrapped both legs. And if you watch his fighters like Masaki Noiri, Yuki Yoza, they have brilliant calf kicks off of both legs. So if their opponent switches, like we saw with Masaki Noiri versus Tawanchai, they can blast the calf onto the right leg as well. They don't just have good low kicks on one leg. If you hear cars going past, it's because I'm in the recording studio. The recording studio is a Vauxhall Astra. I need to get a good mic because every other mic just switches off after 2 minutes talking and I lose 15 minutes of footage. Anyway, enough ramble about itself. Let's talk about the actual pad hitting. Here's Takumi Terada, K1 champion, going inside calf kick, going body kick. That's an interesting pad. That's an interesting way of holding the pads for the body kick on that left side. So normally you go corner to corner on the pads, but he's holding it one on top of the other. It's kind of teaching him to throw it more like a 45-degree angle, the kind of angle that you see a lot in Kyokushin karate. It's kind of training to throw the kick up. He's going to be a little bit more square on this back foot, the standing foot as he's kicking. It's slightly different to the usual Thai kick, slightly different angle. It's not coming across into the wrist forearm, Blackout, Skarbowski style. It's coming up under the elbow, kind of like that Lyoto Machida CB Dollaway kind of angle on the kick. Boom. So that's one thing. He goes inside kicking as well. When your legs are that padded up and when you've got the chest pad, it gives the actual pad hitter a lot of freedom to throw their own strikes at their own volition. Boom. As a good pad man, he's throwing back. Now we've got some Masaki Noiri, a bit older footage. Masaki Noiri, brilliant with these toe kicks, the Chizoku kicks, weeb kicks as we call them on this channel. Boom. And good pad man, well, good hitting on the pads. He's going to hit a right stab kick. And then you generally develop the feints off of what you're just doing. Your right front kick, and then feints, right front kick, and then steps down southpaw. That's something really good about Masaki Noiri, is he can change the dynamic of the fight. Throwing his body kick from super close range, and generally, you know, the padman switching stances, and he recognizes, look, there's Masaki Noiri throwing his left low kick into the thigh, something that he's developed more through his career is he's throwing it into the calf. Very unorthodox there. Generally, if you're internally rotating that leg on the toe kick, the triangle kick, the classic semi-shilt, you normally do that against another orthodox fighter, but there is room to do that against a southpaw fighter, because when you hand fight, you can occupy that space and it makes that opening. So it's all, even though it's technically not the right alignment for this left Chizoku kick, this left triangle kick against a southpaw, it can still work. So we keep it playing here. Oh, he's always very primed on that back foot, is Masaki Noiri. So he can throw those right straights, which look like they come from absolutely nowhere. Like the one he knocked out Daba Askarov with, using that back leg to check, which is generally an option you'd use when your feet are much closer together. There he's kicking the back leg, doubling up on the lead hand, and you can see the padman, Masakazu, is blocking there. So sometimes, a padman can hold the pad, so he goes low kick to the back leg, Masakazu standing southpaw, probably training to fight southpaw. He's actually throwing his left hook before his foot hits the floor. Very Kyokushin, very difficult to do. And then when he throws his left hooks again, you can see Masakazu's not holding a pad, he's holding a guard. So when Masaki Noiri throws this left hook, he's not going to whack it in, he's going to slap it more. Slap it, that's going to send the weight of any potential opponent onto this leg, so that leg's rooted on the floor, and there's no way he's going to be able to pick up his back leg to check. That's what it would be like on an opponent, but he's doing it on his padman here. Boom. I'm putting that kick into the thigh. Thigh kick, generally best if you're kicking the back leg of an opposite stance. Sometimes I've seen the calf kick. I've seen Kazuki Osaki use the calf kick on the back leg of an opponent and finish them. And that's very rare. That's the only time I can think of it. Again, Masaki Noiri using the right leg, and then the next time he steps in for his combination to throw a southpaw combination, he just fakes that right leg and steps down southpaw and then throws. Arm block here. That's something Masaki Noiri will do as well, is he's happier to block a lot more. Sometimes people will try and return on every single one. One of the reasons why Masaki Noiri's counters can work so well is he's happy to take it on the gloves, to take it on the forearm, take it on the body, and then let it simmer a bit. Let people get a little bit comfortable, and then he'll fire with this really relaxed power. You see Masaki Noiri, whenever he hits pads, he's got this really relaxed canter to him. He's not going a million miles an hour. Here's Takeru hitting pads, and you generally don't see a crazy variation of combinations from Takeru when he's doing his pad works. A lot of it's right hand, left hook, right hand, left hook. A lot of it's finishing on the left hook, finishing on the body hook, finishing on the cross. He really goes left to right, left to right. He's got this real left to right rhythm. Sometimes he'll double up on the lead hand, but he's more of like a left hook, cross hook rhythm. He's kind of throwing his right hand there, like he threw it in the Leona Pettis fight, where he's happy for his stance to go a little bit after. Get my face off the screen, I pressed the wrong button. But he's happy to let his stance go, and he's happy to let his back foot come off the floor, or his lead foot, to leverage into a bit more power. And I wonder if this is a build thing, because Takeru, he throws a lot of looping punches, and he throws a lot of overhands, he throws a lot of hooks, left hooks particular. But if we look at his build, especially his back, he doesn't have that kind of build that a Naoya Inoue or like a Teofimo Lopez has. People who leverage into their hooks with so much power because they've got this V-taper. Takeru, he's got slightly lanky arms and kind of like the small-shouldered BJ Penn arms. He's not got the kind of body that you'd normally expect someone to use those kind of punches with, the leveraging into the big left hooks and big crosses, which might be a reason why he throws his feet off the floor to throw everything into it. It can get him caught, and it can be difficult against southpaws, but he kind of throws like someone who's got a different body type to himself, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, Takeru combinations, you'll often see, he'll put a back kick in there, some knees, but we'll often see either he's just leveraging hook, cross, hook, left to right, or he does these little hand blitzes into low kicks. That's generally what we see him do on the pads, and generally what we see him do in the fight. Obviously in the fight, we see him use his left leg more. Now, this is Yuki Yoza. Very, very potato footage. I don't know what the Japanese word for potato is, but Yuki Yoza is the most entertaining of all the pad work combinations. Boom, hitting body hooks into low kicks. There he hits a calf kick as a counter. The calf kick, just a little bit there. If we put it back 2 to 3 seconds, when anyone steps forward and commits on a jab or to cover in space, their stance will widen, and that just increases the effectiveness of the calf kick. That's the one that's going to knock them off balance. And when you've got this kind of level of padding that Masakazu has, it gives the pad hitter freedom to throw it whenever they want. So you can hit him with that calf kick there, knocks him off balance. And this is another little thing, when you're this padded up, it's good to not always just hold the pads, but sometimes, especially with the relevance to kickboxing and kickboxing guard, is here he's holding his pads for more like set combinations. But here, yeah, the first part is set, and then when he throws his second phase off of coming off the low kick, he can just shell up. And this allows Yuki Yoza just to visualize throwing his different shots in the different spaces, what's open, left hook body, into low kick. It's a little bit more realistic than always throwing to set pad combinations that the padman pre-decides. And as well, sometimes it changes the way he'll throw a left hook to the head when he's hitting the pad. Instead of it being a big concussive power shot, you might just palm it to slap him, knock his weight over this way, so there's no defense for the low kick because all the weight is planted on this foot. I need to get better arrows. Boom. Takeru again, really just launching himself into right straight. Something you'll see Takeru happy to do a lot on pads is finish on his backhand, and he'll throw himself into it, kind of like how he did against Leona Pettis. One of the times in the Leona Pettis fight, he knocks him down with a left hook, throws a backhand that misses, and he literally flies across the cage. Something very interesting that happens there is, and you need a good kind of rapport with the man hitting pads. The pad man needs it. As he throws a left hook back, he just throws a right straight and controls it. Doesn't hit him on the chin. You see a lot of like Pacquiao and Freddie Roach where he'd throw that shot towards the chin and then just pull it at the last second. Obviously, you're not practicing your power doing that, but you recognize the opening. And sometimes you don't always want to be in pad hitting mode where you just wait for the shot, and then throw it. Sometimes you want to just build that instinct to just throw it when it's there. Here, Takumi Terada again. And I don't know if you can see on the other side, but Masaku has already got one pad just kind of held up. Most of it is coming across the body pad. It's a little bit more realistic, and you can get a feel for getting more of the shin across the pad. He's throwing it from very close range. Look how... Get my face off the screen. He's throwing it from very close range. Look how close their feet are together. If you have good translation, if you get that knee past the target, then you can throw kicks from such a tight range. Look at that fabulous hair flying in the wind, sweatband on. Masakazu also has that sweatband on, because one thing about this pad setup is you're going to get incredibly hot. That's supposed to be some kind of fire or something. But it's going to make you incredibly warm wearing that kind of pad setup. But it's good to throw these kicks. Sometimes when you're holding pads, just let them come across the body pad. It does hurt more, and you need some conditioning as a pad man. There, that counter calf kick, like I was talking about earlier, because he's padded on both sides, he can throw the calf kick to the other leg as well. And because he's switching stances, is Masakazu, it gives practice for the pad hitter to kick on both sides. It's not just this dead practice where we just throw one good calf kick. Sometimes people have a really good calf kick, the guy switches stance and they can't use it. But all of these guys, I don't know why I circled his belly button, but all of these guys, Masaki Noiri, Yuki Yoza, Takumi Terada, they can bash calf kicks onto people if they switch stance. It doesn't matter. Boom. They're going inside calf kick, very interesting. Kind of off balances him, which leads him into the knee. There's that same hook into back leg low kick. Right straight into left calf kick. Now, normally the calf kick, not too much power in that opposite stance. You know, if we're going lead calf kick, But if he throws that right straight first, he's going to have twisted his hips over, and he's going to get power into that left calf kick. Kicking the back leg again. Right kicking across. One padding. Now, if you're just one padding and taking it on one pad, I think that's going to ruin the power that your pad hitter is going to develop. But if that one pad is just to guide it, it's almost like kicking under the elbow again. And again, we see the weeb kick, Chizoku at the end. I feel that's a good tactic as well. You've been throwing body kicks with the shin, and then suddenly you change into a ball of the foot kick, a Chizoku kick, because people get used to blocking it, but that Chizoku kick can fit through the block, especially against opposite stance. Look how his right knee was internally rotated to make the correct angle. Yuki Yoza again, the most creative combinations out of all these guys, and doubles the calf kick as well. And because he's padded up appropriately, he can take the double on the calf kick. As well, if you land a really good calf kick and it knocks someone off balance, what's the chances of them bringing their leg back in time to defend the second one? It is very energetic. There we go again. Masaku, sometimes you'll show him. He won't hold the pad for the left hook to the head. He'll just block here. He just holds it like a block. But then you can see how this changes the mechanics of Yuki Yoza's left hook. See how it's almost like an open palm here, because he knows he's not throwing it to throw his most concussive, powerful left hook. He's throwing it to knock his opponent's guard and balance off in this direction, which opens up the liver. And because he's not throwing it full power, full concussive intent, he's going to be able to recoil his arm back nice and quick and then dig it into the liver. As well, somewhere where Yuki Yoza, his toe is coming up here. Sometimes when I'm teaching beginners and their back heel comes off the floor when they're left hooking, it's a real issue and they end up falling forward, bringing their chin into the path of getting punched in the face. But if you've got those grippy feet, it doesn't matter. And another thing, you leverage this hook into the low kick, so it makes it a little bit quicker for him to fire that back leg off the floor. Hook, hook, low kick, and there's that Chizoku kick. Something that Yuki Yoza does is he'll throw that inside low kick at the end of his combinations just to interrupt any counters. You know, kickboxing rhythm, people take turns. They'll happily eat a combination to the gloves and forearms and body. Yuki Yoza will throw that inside low kick at the end of his combinations. He'll do something crazy like a knee to the head, like a left knee to the head or a head kick, something crazy, a spin kick, something like this. And then at the end of his combination, he'll just knock them out of balance with an inside low kick, so they've got no counter. It's like all the fancy moves, and then just to exit, or stop them entering, rather, you'll just inside low kick them. A little bit of Masaki Noiri to finish, just practicing his hand combinations. And I was talking about the grippy feet throwing these combinations. I normally like people to drag that back heel down on the left hook, but if you understand the weight placement and get my face off screen, and you've got this grippy foot here, your toes can actually grip on the floor with the heel up, you can do that, and it can make you launch into the low kicks a little bit quicker, or the head kicks. So a little bit more uppercut, left hook, uppercut, hook, Masaki Noiri, left hook against Tawanchai. Big upset. I am so happy that he beat Tawanchai. Not because I dislike Tawanchai. I really like Tawanchai, but people were dissing Noiri so much after he lost on the match, after he lost his first two in one championship. I'm so glad he's champ, because that was a big upset. I've been George Hardwick. You want to support, go to the Patreon, give a like, subscribe if you like Weeby, Thai, kickboxing, Muay Thai. Any suggestions who I should break down in the comments, let me know. And generally be a good person to people who deserve it, maybe. Nah, forget that. Just have a big curry and chips and gamble your life savings away.